And I'm not talking like the Bears go on a losing streak. We didn't have high hopes for them. I'm talking about teams that are ascending and talented. Last year, Arizona, ascending, playoff team, implodes. Coach fired, GM fired, quarterback pouting. Denver, good franchise, brings Russell Wilson over, gives up a ton of draft capital, implodes. The Rams went from Super Bowl to 5-12. McVay's going to retire. Stafford may never play at the high level again. Like, I'm talking about, you start with pretty high standards, really good organizations. The Bears don't qualify for that. And Green Bay didn't make the playoffs, but they could have if they won the last game. That's not an implosion. But there are, and I'm talking about where there's a physical and emotional and a cultural tire fire, where everything just unravels for teams with high hopes. And I do believe there are 3 teams in the NFL this year that fall into that category, where there's a really good roster, really good players. We've seen some success over the years, and there's like a hanging issue or 4. Let's start with Sean Payton and Russell Wilson. This thing, remember, Russell Wilson's major deal doesn't start until next year. He's in the final year of his Seattle contract. And the general manager who pulled the deal off is still in the building, and there's new owners. If this thing goes sideways fast, Sean Payton is not a patient man. And he wants things done his way. If Russell is just okay, he's going to be somewhat bitter. That general manager who made the deal, he'll probably view as a bit of a roadblock. He's already been outspoken during camp. This thing has the potential because, again, Russell Wilson is not your classic pocket passer. He has to move to work. The problem with quarterbacks who move, it could be Michael Vick in his prime. It could be Big Ben in his prime or Cam. They age fast, quickly. Has Russell Wilson just aged, and he's never going to move again like he used to? So this thing is the one that really stands out to me. I have high hopes, but the division's good. Herbert twice a year. AFC, Mahomes twice a year. Kevin Clark of The Ringer talked about this yesterday.
I trust Sean Payton to fix the Broncos. I don't trust Sean Payton to fix Russell Wilson. It was the biggest decline for Russell Wilson by passer rating in the history of the NFL from quarterback switching teams, which begs the question, is he still elite? And then here's another stat. He held onto the ball too long last year, and he didn't have the legs to extend plays. Sean Payton is going to want him to have the quick release, run the offense, all of that stuff. I just don't know if this is going to work. You talk about timelines not matching up. Sean Payton wants to turn this franchise around. Russell Wilson may not be capable of turning it around himself.
So that's the one with the potential to implode. When Sean Payton took the job, my first gut reaction was, I don't know, maybe you want to broadcast for one more year. I don't know. That Dallas job may come open. All right, 2 other, because we get about 3 implosions a year. 2 others to keep your eyes on. The Cleveland Browns. Kevin Stefanski, his wins have declined every year. We have a quarterback in Deshaun Watson, hasn't played much in the last 2 years, and the AFC's gotten very good at quarterback. The owner is impatient. Star quarterback, is he a star? He certainly paid like it. Rest of the division, Baltimore, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, very good. It's an annual tradition. Cleveland screws things up. High hopes, very good roster, elite people at the right spots. But Deshaun Watson at the end of last year looked rusty. Let's say he dusts the rust off and is just a B-plus quarterback. That will not do if you look at his contract. And the third team, and I know, you always think we're picking on you, but we've been right, the Dallas Cowboys. Dak's got more on his plate, coming off leading the NFL in picks, had a rocky camp, Trayvon Diggs talking trash to him, Mike McCarthy now calling plays. Brilliant young progressive offensive coordinator Kellen Moore, upgraded quarterback, went to the Chargers and Herbert. There's a chance there'll be a little regression on defense. I like their defense, but they led the NFL in takeaways back-to-back years. That usually doesn't last forever. The early schedule for an offense that's still trying to get the O-line right, running back room solidified. You got New England's defense, Jets defense, Giants defense, Chargers defense, San Francisco defense. There's a lot of potential turbulence with those defensive fronts and that okay Cowboy offensive line. and you have a perceived head coach in waiting with Dan Quinn on the staff. And if you ask fans, if they start 2-3, if you ask fans, what do you want to do with a coach? They'd say, get rid of him, move Dan Quinn up. He's got the best unit, the best side of the ball. So the Broncos, that thing could go sideways fast. Cleveland, it's what they do, screw things up, impulsive owner. And the Dallas Cowboys. Those three to me feel like, I'm not talking about if Houston wins 4 games, like the Bears last year. That's not an implosion. We know what they are. Young quarterback, rebuild roster. We didn't expect much. But Denver, Cleveland, Dallas have a little bit of implosion, a little bit of Arizona last year in them. All right, so Hard Knocks continues. The New York Jets didn't want to do it, but they're doing it. And the 2 stars of the show are Aaron Rodgers, which is predictable, and Robert Saleh. I've said if you were going to do a movie about this Jets team, Saleh and Aaron Rodgers look like actors. They're like alpha males, good-looking guys. And one of the things, Robert Saleh, we have a clip from last night, and this is one of the things why I love the NFL, and I love the NBA, but I love the NFL more, is because you can be confrontational. You can ask more of players, and you won't get fired or have their agent call. Here's Robert Saleh after a really choppy inter-squad practice, right? Like with Carolina. Here's Saleh.
It was our first opportunity to change the stink that's been in this organization for a very long time on the offensive side of the ball. You can have a Hall of Fame quarterback. You can have 2 $10 million plus receivers. You can have a reigning offensive rookie of the year. You can have all kinds of skill in the running back room. None of it matters until the big boys up front change who the we are. We as coaches, we as an organization can't want it more than you. And I'm watching that tape all night last night, trying to find something to show that we're changing, and it didn't show, and it was our first op.
It's real, it's confrontational, it's alpha, and it's honest. If an NBA coach did that, he'd be fired. Agents would be calling. You hear that all the time in the NBA, like Damian Lillard's the latest example, not to pick on him, but like you'll hear, hey, if you don't trade him where he wants, players will never go to Portland. Well, I'm not sure players have ever wanted to go to Portland, first of all, and they will if you trade for them or you draft them. You go where you're traded. You don't control the league. Saleh comes off as caring, intense, a leader, and brutally honest. And you're allowed to do that in the NFL. And what he's preaching is what we've been saying is the only issue with this team, the offensive line. When you get older quarterbacks, Brady to Tampa, Stafford to L.A., Russell Wilson to Denver. When you get quarterbacks mid-30s and up, they get really prickly when the offensive line deteriorates or doesn't give them ample protection. This is also an illustration of how valuable and important the draft is. I mean, the Jets have really good players everywhere. But if Mekhi Becton is a whiff and you can't even use him at right tackle, this house comes crumbling down. And Robert Saleh knows it, and he is addressing it. Listen, you can screw up a house, but as long as the kitchen's good, you can sell it. The backyard can be small. The bathrooms can be a little tight. You know, the family room's weird, a little clunky. But if the kitchen's a disaster, it doesn't work. And if tackle, even Patrick Mahomes went into a Super Bowl, second-tier people at tackle, he got blown out. You got to get tackle right. Most people in the NFL you talk to, if you say the 5 most important positions, everybody says quarterback 1, most people say left tackle 2, edge rusher sometimes is 2, tackle is 3rd. You can have Brock Purdy if he's got Trent Williams protecting his backside and he's not going to get hit. So I like Dwayne Brown, but he becomes 38 years old this year. He's had a long physical career. For 1 year, as long as he stays healthy, they should be okay. But tackles get to be high 30s, they miss games. And if Becton's a whiff, not saying he is yet, maybe he recovers. Maybe he gets the weight under control. Maybe his knees work. Then I could absolutely say this is a Super Bowl bubble team. Absolutely. Corners, pass rush, intense coach, star quarterback, nice weapons, 2 running backs, interior O-line, more than capable. So I think what Robert Saleh is telling you is, we see the problem. You see the problem. I see the problem. J-Mac, the world sees it, and I love the NFL because you're allowed to be honest and authentic. You don't have to coddle. You can point a finger and say, you're the issue. Fix it. Can't do that in all sports. International soccer, good luck. NBA, good luck. All right. And I love international soccer and the NBA.